The whole world is topsy-turvy.
Yeah, there's editing to be done. Oh,
Okay.
all right.
Hello.
So
Hello.
let's go ahead and recall the order of regular meeting. We're going to do roll call.
Jeff Aldrin,
Here.
Samantha McDavid,
Present.
Sarah Moses,
President.
Victoria Newport, here, Jeremy Olson,
Here.
Valerie Pena Hernandez,
Valerie?
David Seymour.
David?
Yes.
There we are. We're doing a roll call.
I couldn't hear you.
The sound was off, we couldn't hear.
Oh, Valerie.
Okay. Here, present.
Good, thank you.
Valerie Pena Hernandez,
Here.
Next is the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next is public comments. Members of the public who wish to speak to the board should complete a request card or may send an email to the board president, Sarah Moses at d428.org. Prior to the meeting, members of the public may also participate by using the meeting link located on the agenda. This section of the meeting will be reserved for comments from the public. All comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Criticism of individuals is not in order. Public comment? Okay.
No cards.
All right, next is board committee reports and correspondence. So I'm just going to hand out real quick. This is just a letter for the Friday's forum.
Thank you.
It's a rough draft. It's not the final draft, but you guys also got a copy.
Already didn't slide very well.
Yeah. So, yeah, Melissa sent it to everybody, so you guys can look it over. If you have any suggestions, you can let me know. And like I said, it's a rough draft. I'd like to try to get it out later tonight. So if there's any edits that you would like to make, I wanted to add in the complaint process. Amy had suggested that, and Samantha too.
It's 7:20 in our policy.
7:20. Oh, you can. Yes, all right.
Yep. Seems to be the same thing as what you sent out, right?
Yeah. And then, any other board reports or correspondence, committee reports? Okay. Non-business consent agenda. It is recommended action that the Board of Education approve the non-business consent agenda items A through C. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Roll call?
Jeff Aldrin,
Yes.
Samantha McDavid,
Yes.
Sarah Moses,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Jeremy Olson,
Yes.
Valerie Pena Hernandez,
Yes.
David Seymour.
Yes.
Okay, next is the business consent agenda. The recommended actions of the Board of Education to approve the business agenda items A through D. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Samantha McDavid,
Yes.
Sarah Moses,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Jeremy Olson,
Yes.
Valerie Pena Hernandez,
Yes.
David Seymour,
Yes.
Jeff Aldrin.
Yes.
Okay, next is approval of administrative appointment agreements, interim superintendents, Dr. Ray Lechner and Dr. Griff Powell. This is an action item. The recommended action is that the Board of Education approve the administrative employment agreements for interim superintendents, Dr. Ray Lechner and Dr. Griff Powell as attached. Is there a motion?
Motion with discussion.
Okay.
Second.
Over to Jeff.
Not much discussion involved. I just want to say, wade in. I know we've spoken. I'm very appreciative of the fact that you guys reached out and that we spoke on the phone and I know you did it with others, with everybody, I think. And I want to tell you that how impressed I am and how looking forward to our relationship I am. I think we're lucky, and I feel very strongly that this is going to be a great relationship. And thank you very much for reaching out.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And actually, I'd like to ask a question just for the viewers at home too. It might be nice if you guys could just comment on your level of enthusiasm about taking on this project and working together with us here for the next year.
We are extremely excited about being here because, as I said in our interview, this is my home roots is nearby here, so I love it. This is on my commute to visit my family, but also this district has a good reputation for a lot of forward thinking over the years. So we're excited to do that. We had a chance to meet most of the cabinet today, and you guys are in a solid place to move forward. I just thank you for this opportunity.
We're even more excited after talking to all the board members, and we think you have way more in common than you have different. You're all focused on the improvement of education in this district, and you all have maybe different ways of getting there, and we're going to try to help you get a common path for that quality that you're looking for. And we're even more excited after meeting the cabinet people today and spending at least an hour with each one of the cabinet members. So we still have a lot to do to really get to know the people that are going to make a big difference here. But hopefully early in July we'll have that have those kind of relationships built. But we're extremely excited. We're off and running. I will be here Friday to listen to our students and their concerns. They need to know that we're listening and we care. And that's the message I think the board, all of you want to send. Because you all do care. You wouldn't be the board members put a lot of time out. You take a lot of abuse. You sacrifice a lot of your personal time. And a lot of times you don't get much gratitude. And you deserve a lot of gratitude. Because you're sacrificing a lot of your personal time for the sake of this community. You should be congratulated. So we're looking forward to working with you.
Likewise.
I have a question. For Cindy, could you please speak to the compensation package for our two interim superintendents?
Yeah, absolutely. So the two superintendents, because they're both retired superintendents, they're limited to the number of days they can work. So they're limited to 120 days this next fiscal year. So if they did work that entire time, each of them 120, and they're getting paid $1,000 per day, and that is it, just $1,000 per day, and then we just have some payroll tax to pay with that. And if we compare that to Jamie's salary and compensation package at the moment over the fiscal 2021 year, what that would have been, it's about a $27,000 savings. Because we really are just paying per diem. We're not, they don't get paid for any vacations, sick days, health care, any of that. It's just a per diem rate, and only for the days that they actually work.
Thank you, Cindy.
No benefits and no expenses. And we actually removed a section of the first contract that allowed us to get expenses. You should not do that with interims. It should be a straight per day, and that's less costly for the board. Than paying for my cell phone and all the other kind of things we come up with. Not worth it to you and to this organization.
Thank you for coming out.
Thanks very much.
Any other discussion or questions?
No, I just want to say I'm very excited. I look forward to these two interims.
I echo that, very excited.
Yes, I do too. I'm thrilled. And we're very fortunate in our school district to have found such competent and inspiring leaders, so we're really excited. Go ahead and do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Great. We'll do roll call?
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Jeremy Olson,
Yes.
Valerie Plame Hernandez,
Yes.
David Seymour,
Yes.
Jeff Albrin,
Enthusiastic, yes.
Samantha McDavid,
Yes.
Sarah Moses.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Welcome. We look forward to working with you. Next, we have a presentation, and this is a reintegration plan update by Mr. Jamie Craven. and it is discussion information. Jamie will provide an update for the Board of Education on the reintegration plan. Jamie?
Well, unless Tim or Christie have anything new to add since our last meeting, I have no new updates.
Tim, Christie?
Just that we are awaiting some information. Word on the street is that we should be getting information here soon from ISBE. Again, that's word on the street. And so we are then planning in right after we get that information to put more plans in place. Again, I know that Kyle reported out on our SEL reintegration plan the last time we were together, and then I also talked about our health and wellness plan. So those pieces, as we learn more about phase 4, that will help guide us and make adjustments to those plans. But certainly we have a really great start in those directions. We're looking for more guidance from the state.
The only thing that I would add is, and probably what will come before, is the question about sports camps and music camps and kids actually getting back to doing things curricular and otherwise, which will come before. We're expecting an announcement from IHSA in the next, I'd call it this week sometime, and then we can really start beginning those plans to see what that'll look like. So right now it's very limited as far as, you know, got people on campus for driver's ed, we have people on campus for some very limited things, but that's really going to open up when IHSA releases that guidance, and then we're able to plan for a couple of days on that. So that's really all.
And an IHSA release today from, or release notes from Peter Goff. I think they're going to kind of punt on this a little bit. So no idea when IHSA is going to officially release any more information. They did say today that they're going to eliminate the dead period, which is typically the first week of August, and limit the contact days from 25 to 20. When students can actually come back and start having contact with coaches is to be determined.
One last thing, I just wanted to report that we met today and discussed the need to get some information out to our families once again, just as an update as to where we are as a district. So Jamie will be sending out some correspondence on Sunday, another Sunday review of where we're at this point. And then with that, there's going to be 2 surveys also sent out, one to families and one to our teachers. Get some information from our families and teachers about input in order to move forward in our planning and get their voice, as well as any changes that we are making with our meal distribution plan. So we will be continuing to serve meals through summer school, and VAC has taken on a couple of our site health, and will continue with feeding our children after summer school.
Great, thank you. Sam
For sure.
and Jeff.
I have a question, Christy. I know SEL and, addressing potential trauma from COVID is going to be a focus in the fall. And I just wanted to ask, will we also be kind of looking at potential trauma from current events in regards to racism and systemic racism and oppression, and what our children are seeing and participating in over the summer, making sure that that's included?
Excellent question. Thank you so much for directing us in that way as well. I believe Kyle is on, and I'm going to let him speak to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, short answer is yes. So when we crafted the surveys to both families and teachers, we had kind of our perspective was to encapsulate everything that's happened going back to March, including the most recent events. So the survey to families really is looking through that trauma lens. So that includes, the impact of COVID, but also, as you said, the kind of the systematic racism and things that have been happening within our society there. So kind of short answer is yes, it's going to cover both. The other part of that too, just to add on to what Christy said, is we collaborated with the curriculum and instruction department. So it definitely has that social emotional component, but it's also looking at kind of the instructional or academic practices as well.
That's awesome, thank you.
Well, my question has to do with last semester and the end of last semester. And if we had sent out anything that looked for feedback from parents as to their reaction to the end of last semester, how they feel that their students walked away, if they walked away with anything from that particular terrible end, in my way of thinking, a terrible ending to the semester. Not that we could have done much differently, but the point being that anecdotally, I haven't met anyone yet, any child yet, of the 30 that I have talked to possibly. I haven't met any that felt that there was anything that came out of that particular end of the semester. And so we are walking into that again, theoretically, or at least possibly, we're going to be walking into that again. And how we address that seems just absolutely critical. I mean, if we're talking about our children getting anything out of this next semester at all, I mean, there is so much that went, in my opinion, went wrong, in a sense necessarily, but not, I mean, how could we address it? But I feel like that walking into next semester is the key is for our children getting as much learning out of it as they can, and that environment is going to be tough. It's going to be a very tough environment. So I'm worried. I mean, I'm teaching that. We just went to ECC, the school went to online for next semester, which I think is a mistake. However, it's not my decision, but I think it's a mistake, but it's easier, in some sense, and I just feel like the children are not going to get what they need out of that particular semester.
Can I just buckle on
But
that?
if I can address that, because there's, as we've shared in multiple correspondence with families, to your point, there is no replacement for that teacher to student connection. And, the e-learning, while, we all had to pivot to that, it was a learning process for staff as well. Just, as you and I had a conversation that, going to remote learning was going to be a learning process for you. So there's multiple surveys that have gone out from different districts, and it's kind of lessons learned as we all learn from each other. And a lot of those surveys and survey results are being shared with different superintendents around the state. And whether it's in DeKalb, whether it's in Carbondale or Rockford, I think the results are telling for all of us. And we're looking at those, and all of us are going to be trying to adjust accordingly. So it's not only what our DeKalb families say, it's what the Decatur families say, and the Carbondale and the Macomb families. So we are looking at those and trying to adjust to, again, the lessons learned from 9 weeks of having to quick jump to e-learning.
So I guess what would be helpful from our perspective, because I was going to bolt on to Jeff's question anyway, is a different way of asking the question, I guess, is simply, do we have a plan to do things differently in the fall? Because I think what Jeff was saying by getting feedback from the parents was really just his way of saying, I don't think it went very well. And that would, I think, show itself to be true, having had 2 kids at home doing it myself. And so I guess the question I would have is simply, we don't have an immeasurable amount of time. I just wondered, do we at least have a short list locally of things that we want to do differently? And how are we evaluating that? I mean, are those things happening or not yet?
So Chris, can I go ahead and speak? Yes, we have been making, when we met with teacher groups, right when school was coming to an end, to ask how it went with them, where were their frustrations, where did they see students needed more support that we could have provided. So we made those lists, so we have that. And then in this survey, we're hoping to gather more information from parents. What did they see? What would have helped them help their kids more? Is there some videos we could have made? Is there a workshop we could have offered? So yes, we're kind of tackling it from all different ways to see what information we can get before we put the details into this plan. And also this will be different because this is the beginning of the school year versus the end of the school year. So it's gonna have to look a little bit different.
And I mean, will you ask if there was positive things? Because I guess a different perspective, I thought e-learning, it was difficult, but it went fairly well. I thought
Yeah.
the children got a lot out of it.
Yes, we had a lot of good feedback,
Okay.
yes.
Jeremy, one of the things that was interesting in a survey that I saw, that was a pretty broad survey, what parents are asking for is to emulate more of the school day, to have, as we meet here tonight in a Google Meets, to have more Zoom meetings where students have more direct interaction with their teachers, not have packaged lesson plans. And, again, that the school day reflects what the school day would be if they were there physically. And and again, being able to have more contact with teachers and students and or parents need that support. So that was the biggest feedback in a mass survey that I recently went through.
I've heard the same thing, and I would tend to agree. I even thought, we have these big whiteboard screens, kind of like this one in all the classrooms. It'd be kind of cool if all the teachers just showed up and they could see all of their students' little faces up there in a big enough square instead of on their laptop, where they could tell who's paying attention and who's not, and make everybody turn their camera on, because they all have the same devices. They should be able to do that. But I've also heard from many people, it'd be nice to have more live instruction, less packets, less self-driven stuff.
Yes, and we just had a tech engagement camp for teachers, and that was one of the #1 things that people wanted to learn about, because we did have teachers do that and had some great success. So they shared out how they did it, so that we know in August, again, we're gonna offer that and have those teachers who did do the Google Meets and the trainings with their students and how that works, share out again. So that's our hope too.
Well, Jeff, you're jumping in. Ray and Griff were saying that DuPage, it sounded like DuPage is getting together on this particular subject. The school districts in DuPage are getting together on this particular subject and have come to some, at least from what I gather, some sort of consensus that teachers in classroom, that is to say, putting the teachers at least in the classrooms, is a favored way of going, or at least they're leaning towards doing that. And I think with that whiteboard, with your students on it, instead of your students on a 14-inch screen, all of them on the 14-inch screen, just practically, you're going to see your students in a better on a large whiteboard, and any number of other advantages to having the teachers in the classroom. I'm just saying this, we're spitballing here, but I mean, I'm not involved in the planning of it, but when I heard that, I was very, very encouraged by that. Being a teacher and understanding, teaching from home is an issue as well. Furthermore, one last little thing that I wanted to say here is I'm thinking disadvantaged. That is to say, when we're talking about children learning from home, with an engaged parent, we've had an artificial situation here where parents were at home over this last little bit. I would think that's not going to be happening as much in the fall. And I think that it's the environment in which the children are in that's going to cause them to be successful or not successful as much as the environment that they're being taught from. So I would think that, reaching out to parents in a much more aggressive, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but much more engaged way. The parents are really our partners here in home learning. Parents are hugely our partners in this, in being successful or unsuccessful. So it seems to me that that's a huge part of it.
Actually,
I can speak to that for a moment if you wouldn't mind, Jeff. So from a different perspective, from a special ed lens, especially for our students with what's called low incidence disabilities, those students who are in our SOL classrooms in particular, we are looking at how can we provide the materials also necessary for a family to basically simulate what we do in the schools with task boxes for students, and then provide the materials for those task boxes weekly. So we are looking at ways to further engage not only the family but the child in something that looks like school, because so many of our students in our SOL programs may not necessarily engage through a device. So these are some ways, and along with that, Jeff, we're looking at a parent institute in order to help facilitate that type of learning. So we're looking at different types of means to engage our students, but also engage our families. That was some feedback we had. That's some feedback we had also received.
well, I know this is a challenge, and I appreciate all the work that you guys are doing. And by the way, in my earlier comments, I didn't mean that to sound like we didn't do the best we could under circumstances no one foresaw. More so, I think two things, just as food for thought, I want to share as well. One is, I think the state of Illinois made a huge mistake telling kids that they weren't going to be graded to the end of the year. I hope that in the fall is not the case because part of, you're almost disincentivizing the kids to actually do it. Some of the results I was complaining about probably are directly correlated to that. And then secondly, my other concern is simply, I think as Jeff was alluding to, is a continued inequity in terms of, a lot of the lower income families, they have two parents, they're both out of the house, they have one parent, they're out of the house, they don't have the same support that some of the other kids is, and our knowledge gap is going to continue to broaden, I think even more so during something like this. So having a good solution in place for that, I think is going to be mission critical for us for sure.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay. So we'll move forward to old business items, action items. The first one is the handbook language update as recommended by the D428 Handbook Committee. Mr. James Horn gave us information last meeting. This is an action item that the Board of Education approved the updated language as recommended by the Handbook Committee. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Roll call?
Terry Olson,
Yes.
Valerie Kenny Hernandez,
Yes.
David Seymour,
Yes.
Jeff Albrecht,
Yes.
Smith McDavid,
Yes.
Sarah Moses,
Yes.
Victoria Newport.
Yes. Next is contract with Northwestern Illinois Association for the 2020-21 school year. Ms. Christine Meyer, she presented on this at last meeting. This is an action item. The recommended action is that the Board of Education approve the attached contract with Northwestern Illinois Association. Is there a motion?
So
moved. Second.
Roll call?
Valerie Kenny Hernandez,
Yes.
David Seymour,
Yes.
Jeff Albrecht,
Yes, thanks Christy for putting that together.
Smith McDavid,
yes.
Sarah Moses,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Jeremy Olson.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Next is a letter of agreement, Podesta accumulated vacation. This was presented last meeting by Ms. Sarah Body. This is an action item. The recommended action is that the Board of Education approve the letter of agreement as attached. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Roll call?
David Seymour,
Yes.
Jeff Albrecht,
Yes.
Smith McDavid,
Yes.
Sarah Moses,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Jeremy Olson,
Yes.
Valerie Kenny Hernandez.
Yes.
Thanks for putting that together, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Okay, next is new business administration. The first one is Andy Frame, crossing guard contract 2021. Ms. Cynthia Carpenter, this is for discussion and information.
Hi, everybody. This is, like we just talked about, is an informational item. We're at that time of the year to look at our renewal with Andy Frame, who handles our crossing guard corners. Right now, we have 17 locations that they cover. And we are starting the third year with Andy Frame. They've been with us for 2 years. A little brief history. Previously, the city of DeKalb had offered crossing guard services, and then we took that over a couple of years ago. We are now in the time of the contract where we have 2 one-year renewals. So we're looking at renewing for the 2021 school year with the increases that are included in your board packet. You can see that the increases are a little larger this year, and it's specifically related to the increases in minimum wage. So you can see there's a 2-tier system from August through December at $634.14 per day. That covers all of our corners, and then from January 1/21 to 6/30/21, because the minimum wage is going up to $10 an hour starting 7/1/20, but then we'll go up to $11 an hour starting 1/1/21, and then a dollar per year thereafter until 2025. So we're looking at bringing this back at the next board meeting for approval. And I did have discussions with the supervisor, Ed Millard, knowing that, like we were just talking about, not sure what next school year is going to bring us in terms of the flexibility we'll need in terms of whether we'll need their services, or maybe we may need more services depending on how we work, how kids may come back to school. So they're very willing to work with us and to be flexible with what that might look like. Any questions?
Consensus to bring this back?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Next is letter of agreement between the DeKalb Classroom Teachers Association and District 428 School Board marching band differentials. Ms. Sarah Bobby, this is discussion information.
Hi, everyone. We have included on the agenda tonight a letter of agreement with DCTA. Administration has been working with DCTA for several months in regards to an inequity that was identified within the marching band area. So together we developed this letter of agreement, which equalizes those responsibility factors for those positions, reducing in 2 areas and increasing in 1 for equity. Overall, it will result in a 0.01 FTE increase to the differential base responsibility factor. So this is coming to you as information tonight for review, and we plan to bring it back at the next meeting for action.
Questions?
Thank you.
Consensus?
You're welcome.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Next is the DeKalb High School graduation ceremony date. Mr. Jamie Craven. And this is action, discussion, and information, and the recommended actions of the Board of Education. Move the date for DeKalb High School graduation ceremony back to the proposed date of July 11th, 2020. Jamie?
Well, in light of NIU canceling their August 8th graduation and a correspondence that I've had with officials from NIU letting us know that an August 1st in-person graduation at the Convocation Center is, in their words, extremely unlikely. Wanted to bring back to the board the idea or the possibility of moving the drive-up graduation, the drive-through graduation back to DHS as proposed, originally proposed at the July 11th date.
I have a question. Hey, Jamie, I drove past Canelan High School on Saturday, and they were having a drive-up graduation, it appeared. By all appearances, it looked like a drive-up graduation. Have we had any feedback from people that have done that particular thing yet?
Well, I think I can only go really through what's been posted on social media. I know around Memorial Weekend, there were a lot of drive-up graduations. Bradley Bourbonnais had a walk-through graduation. There's, been different versions of drive-up or walk-through. I personally haven't received much response. I believe James might still be on here. I don't know if he has received anything, but I know we originally pushed it back to August 1st with the hope that we might be able to have an in-person graduation at the Convocation Center come August 1st, and that doesn't appear that that's going to be a reality.
Okay. If I could just add, what we've heard is that the graduation, it does work, it can't be controlled. It takes longer than you think it takes. So if we're thinking a day, we're really going to want to stretch that out over the course of 2 days, just to help organize it. We did pilot this slightly with our students that had joined the military, very small number, but it was very nice. We were able to recognize those students, provide them with the moment in a very challenging time. So if it is going to be graduation by drive-through, the 11th or the 1st, we're really going to have to consider doing it over the course of 2 days. I've already been in contact with the church that we share a road with. They are not holding any person-to-person service until September, so we can control for some crowds there. We're going to have to notify the police department because we will really jam up any traffic on Dresser, whatever day it is. But the feedback we've gotten is to really consider our timeline and how long it takes.
And to your point, James, I know Rochelle held 2 days, and we don't obviously have the number of students that DeKalb High School has. So yeah, the possibility of 2 days, perhaps even 3 because of the number of students, or, it's because it is going to take a lot of time and planning. And like you said, potentially jamming up all of Dresser and the streets that lead to Dresser.
Yeah, and you really want to give the kids their moment just to take a picture, to walk. It does take a little bit longer than when we were looking at numbers on a spreadsheet. Actually going through it is going to take a little bit longer. So if and to Jamie's point, we had originally brought it to the 11th. We were hoping that things were going to move along a little better so that we could have something in the Convo Center that looked a little bit closer to normal, or what we once did. That's no longer an option. So I'm comfortable we can make it happen on the 11th. The only thing that I'll caution the board on is that if we go to the 11th, that there's just another change in date, so that may be another hiccup for families. But we certainly can do that.
I have an additional thought. We had originally, when we were talking about this as an option here at the board, we talked about an issue related to people that do not have an automobile and accommodating those people. So there's that thought. And then the second one is that it looked like over at Caneland, it looked like, it could not have been that they have quite a number of students, and they must have coordinated as far as time, because they were only out onto Kesslinger a little bit, and there was a very limited number of automobiles there that didn't account for their entire population. So it must have been that it was staged.
Yeah, and what we would have to, I can certainly give Joe Maris a call over at Caneland and see how they structured it. My guess is they did it very similar to the way we did our locker cleanup and material collection. We staggered it, went by alpha slice according to the guidance counselor, just to kind of balance things out as a window. We did keep in mind, we did contract with OC Creative, so they are actually putting together a film. And what OC Creative has done is they've coded all of our students. So James Horn shows up if he is number 285, but I'm here early and I'm 199. They just make sure that the film footage of 199 is put back later when they go back and edit. So what families will get at the end of this is a nice product where they have all kids going through an alphabetical order. So we can control for window, and it doesn't have to be so structured that you're going in alphabetical order. And then what we are going to be able to give to our senior families, since so much has been taken away from them, we will be able to give them a nice final product with that video.
Great.
Okay.
Just move it to like Geneva.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so do we have consensus?
I've been there.
Do we have consensus that we move it to, ready to, we will vote?
This is an action item, so I think it needs to be voted on.
Right. So we'll go ahead and do a roll call. The recommended actions of the Board of Education.
I have one question. Why are we changing the date? We've been sitting on August 1st for quite a while. Not that I'm necessarily, I don't understand why we're changing the date, I guess.
I think
And Jamie, you sent out an email to all of us asking, did you get feedback from each individual board member or?
No, I didn't. I received, I think, three responses. And Jeremy, to answer your question, the only recommendation for moving this is when we had the previous meeting, we had moved it to, it was my recollection that we moved it to August 1st with the hope that the Convocation Center could be open and we could have an in-person graduation. And again, in talking to the folks at NIU, they've made it clear that that's not going to be an option. So it's, I thought moving it back up to July 11th would be probably better than holding it off till August 1st. But again, that's a board decision at this point.
Yeah, I for one, I'm okay with moving it up, but if anybody else has a different take,
Well,
I know there's a lot of people with a lot of families trying to come down.
the way that we're doing it right now is we are voting on July 11th.
Right.
And the way to voice disapproval of that, with all due respect, is to not vote for it for July 11th. I mean,
I'm just making sure everybody's considered the last month, that all of these families, myself included, with seniors, we had a plan and we have a lot of family coming to celebrate graduation, and now you're telling them you're gonna move it back again. There are people with airfare and hotel reservations. I just want to make sure we're considering that. I'm speaking for those who have people that are gonna be affected by this, that's all. And I happen to be one of them, but that's why I'm thinking of it probably. But if you think that way, that's why I'm thinking that.
Has there been any, James or Jamie, has there been any feedback from families, one way or the other? I guess, I mean, I don't really have a preference.
I can speak to the feedback that I've received. I've received feedback that many students are done with high school and just want their diplomas and would like to move on. I've also received some feedback that it is, to Jeremy's point, that some plans have already been made. So that there is a desire to keep it the same. But I've also received feedback that people want to be done by the start of August. So it's feedback kind of all over the place. So really it comes down to, do we want to stay with what we've communicated with the date of August 1st, or do we want to push it back to the original date of July 11th and allow families time to have summer after this and have students have time to transition to college and not go from August 1st graduation to potentially starting school in a week or two.
Honestly, I don't know any way.
Please know that I just brought this back because I got the message from NIU that an in-person graduation is not going to be possible. And I understand that, there probably are families, Jeremy, as you point out, who maybe have made now plans for August 1st, for a drive-up graduation and, backyard graduation parties. But we just brought it back because, the convocation center is not going to be an option.
And if there's, 100 families saying, hey, we want to just get it over with, we can still have a party. Just nobody will be able to go and watch the kids graduate, which is the end of the world. I'm just speaking for those who aren't here to speak for themselves, and that there are probably other folks that have planned on this day as well. But if the contingent says it should be July 11th, then so be it.
This is July 11th and 12th, according to.
Yeah,
2 days.
2 days, yeah. The only.
Yeah, that is the other variable there that we should take into consideration that we didn't, keep in mind when we had this, our hope was to be at the combo center. That was the hope. So the communication is gonna have to go out to families, move it up to the 11th. My recommendation would be to make it the 11th and 12th, just to stretch it out, or the 1st and 2nd. Either way, we are, kind of throwing a little bit of a curveball.
The only feedback that we got as a board, or that I received, I think that went to all of us, was one parent that wanted it basically much closer to the normal graduation time. So that was the only feedback that.
Yeah, we did as a district, and we took a gamble, and we did it, keep in mind, we're working in the best interest of kids. We wanted to get them as close to graduation as possible. So as far as drive-up graduation, August 1st is slightly more of the later end compared to other schools. That's why we're able to kind of, work with it. OC Creative, for example, I know they're working with the neighboring district in the next week or so. We are doing it late, not because we were trying to push it back. We were trying to push it back in the event that things opened up and we're able to get access to the Convo Center. So, there's a lot of frustrations at how late the date is. However, I do believe at the time we were working in the best interest because we were trying to give, a ceremony to the students.
Well, and I'm just coming at it from August 1st, and I don't know if July 11th is any better. It just seems very anticlimactic. And again, I don't know if July 11th is any better. Jeremy, you could speak to this better. You're a parent of some seniors. Tammy could speak to it. She's a senior. She's a parent of a senior. I personally.
Yeah, I have a senior as well.
All right, Valerie, you have a senior as well. So, whether it's, I don't know if July 11th makes it any better than August 1st or not.
Well, when you sent out that email to all of us, and you asked, if this was something that we were wanting to consider, I also made plans, with the hopes that we're gonna hold it earlier. Because obviously my daughter's ready to get her life, going, and she wants to plan for what college is gonna be. So that's my only personal take. I have received emails or actual messages about people wanting it earlier. But again, I also understand there are people who want to stick to the August 1st. I understand social media people were very vocal that August 1st was what they had initially, not initially, they had already planned for. So obviously there is mixed emotions about people wanting a July ceremony and then students wanting an August ceremony. So I don't know that we have any, clear understanding of what is best for kids, more so July, more so August. I think James raises, an interesting point, that students want to get their life going. So it's a ceremony for the parents, it's a ceremony for the kids. It's a hard decision to make.
So I know we have this for information, action, and everything else, and I'm not sure that's the greatest strategy either. However, it's necessary. What about doing it both days?
Yeah, why can't we do it?
I'm just, because that idea came to me from across the room somehow.
I talked to James about that. He had a really good point about
We had enough kids.
Well, James had a really good point, because I discussed this with him, and he said that it's really like, it's their last coming together. So if you split it into 2 days, then they don't get that opportunity to have one last piece of closure.
We're gonna be in
Yeah, they're
autumn.
gonna, well, James can speak to that, but.
Yeah, James, what's your thought on that?
I remember that conversation we had, Sarah, the group, keep in mind that ceremony, it's the last time the senior class is doing something together. They've been apart since the 13th of March. That is a coming together. It's a symbolic coming together because they're not all going to be together on the 11th. They're all going to be together on the 1st. But if it is held on, it will become an event at DeKalb. With everything shut down, if we decide to do it on the 11th and the 12th, then that's going to be graduation weekend in DeKalb, and that's something that everybody gets to have a collective experience doing together. Same would happen on the 1st and the 2nd. If we spread it out between the 11th and the 1st, that's an option as well. You've just got 2 weekends with a kind of an awkward gap in between. So the nice part about that is that it does kind of, it allows us to spread out between the 2 days, just to track the pattern, that helps there as well.
How do you determine who's gonna graduate on the 11th and then who graduates on the 1st?
Yeah, that's a really good question, David, because if it's gonna be on the 11th and the 12th, then you just split them up by alphabet and then, and give out that schedule and make accommodations for students who can't work within that schedule. So if it's between either Saturday and Sunday, that's an easy thing for a family to expect. We would send out communication first thing tomorrow saying, hey, by the way, graduation is scheduled for this day, scheduled to be coming, and families know it's just that day. But if you start stretching it out within 3 weeks, that becomes a lot of accommodations that we need to make.
Seems to me there's going to be unhappy people either way.
Correct.
You're not going to be able to please everybody in this particular situation. So it's a situation where we have to, in a sense, make a decision for everybody, and there will be a certain number of people that will not be happy with our decision. So.
Yep.
Well, the biggest criticism that James and I received was why didn't we just do it on the original date and have the drive up on that date? But that ship has sailed.
It has. And the 11th is only 3 weeks away. We're pretty tight right here as far as making that one. So if we certainly can't put that decision off, if we do the 11th, we can't put that decision off. That has to be made tonight.
Yes.
I guess my only real thought is like, if you think about kids, I get what you're saying, you like plans and this has been in place, but it seems like psychologically, it's like, August is like you're on to, the next school year almost, and July is still, you're in the heart of summer. That's my, I guess it's just what, in their minds, what feels. Well, either way.
We gotta vote.
Yeah.
We have to belabor this all day.
If we're gonna do it with, on the
I'm glad
11th, we gotta vote tonight.
All right, so let's go ahead and.
Let's call the issue. What are we voting
Recommended
on?
action.
Guys, we didn't mean to bring this back up as a difficult discussion. If you want to leave it on August 1st for families who, as Jeremy pointed out, have already made plans, then, we just leave it. And for those who, would have preferred that it be earlier, then, because it is kind of hard to plan a party in 3 weeks for, those who
are coming from out of town,
who might want to have some, again, family, friends, some kind of backyard party, whatever. So maybe it's better to leave it August 1st.
I wish we had a better feel.
I wish that we would have.
Because, to be honest, if there's a handful of us or whatever, it doesn't mean we can't still have our families in and get the kids dressed up or something, you know, I'm willing to be flexible. I'm not trying to be obstinate here. I'm just nervous that there's a lot more people like us that have sort of targeted the state now, and now we're moving it again on people. But if there's a lot of people saying, hey, we just want to get it over with, and the other concern in full transparency is I have two kids going to college at the same time. Both of their colleges, one is starting really, really early and one is starting really late, and so there, you know, obviously could be even less time between graduation and college. So I don't know. I'm trying to be sensitive to everybody, but just wish we had more feedback, I guess.
A lot of colleges have moved it up to the 8th of August.
Send a letter off.
So
all parents and say, please respond and let us know your preference and see whichever bigger number wins. We just make that day. I guess I don't know.
Well, sorry, but I'm, my opinion, leaving it here, my opinion is that we should move it up. I'm in the same opinion to a certain extent as at this point because of the convocation center leaving us. I think we need to move it to the point to where 3 weeks from today or whatever it would be, that we move it up and get that particular thing away, because the schools are going up to the 8th of August, and a graduation here on the 1st seems awful tight. So it just seems to me that it's tight. But that's my thought.
Okay. Any other thoughts or ideas or questions before we vote? Victoria?
Not just tough.
It is. Okay, so, you ready?
So tell us what we're voting on.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and go through here. It is the recommended action of the Board of Education move the date for the DeKalb High School graduation ceremony back to the proposed date of July 11th, 2020. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Jeff Aldrin,
Yes.
Samantha McDavid,
Yes.
Sarah Moses,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Jeremy Olson,
I'll abstain.
Valerie Penny Hernandez,
Yes.
David Seymour.
No.
Thank you.
All right.
Covers that.
Okay. Approval of the agreement for superintendent search services between DeKalb Community Unit School District 428 and Ray and Associates Incorporated. Action. The recommended action of the Board of Education approve the terms of agreement with Ray and Associates as attached. Is there a motion?
Yes. Oh.
Second.
Roll call?
Samantha McDavid,
Yes.
Sarah Moses,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Jeremy Olson,
Yes.
Valerie Penny Hernandez,
Yes. Oh, sorry. I was reading something.
Valerie Penny
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
David Seymour,
Yes.
Jeff Aldrin.
Yes.
Okay. Next is the appointment of board clerk. This is an action item. The recommended action is that the Board of Education appoint Shannon Whitaker as the clerk of the Board of Education. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Roll call?
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Jeremy Olson,
Yes. Welcome.
Valerie Penny Hernandez,
Yes.
David Seymour,
Yes.
Jeff Aldrin,
Yes.
Samantha McDavid,
Yes.
Sarah Moses.
Yes. Thank you, Shannon. Congratulations and welcome.
Welcome.
And then next is the approval of appointment of District 420 Freedom of Information FOIA Officer. This is an action item. It is recommended the Board of Education appoint Shannon Whitaker as District 420 Freedom of Information Officer. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Jeremy Olson,
Yes.
Valerie Penny Hernandez,
Yes.
David Seymour,
Yes.
Jeff Aldrin,
Yes.
Samantha McDavid,
Yes.
Sarah Moses,
Yes.
Victoria Newport.
Yes.
And welcome, Shannon. Thank you. It's good to have you.
Welcome.
Sarah, before you adjourn, can I make one statement on behalf of Melissa Smith?
Yes.
I know this isn't on the agenda, but Melissa has been with the district for many years. Tonight is her last board meeting. I feel bad that I'm not there in person. For 3 years, I've had the great honor of working right next door with Melissa, and I cannot share with you the amount of respect that I have for her and the job that she has done, especially in my first year as we transitioned, or as I transitioned. And, Melissa was there every day walking me through the minefield. And I know, again, Melissa's been with the district for a long time, been a very dedicated DeKalb 428 employee, loves DeKalb and bleeds orange. And I just wanted to say thank you to her and recognize her as she goes through her last board meeting tonight and is going to step into retirement. And I just wanted to say congratulations to Melissa. Thank you for everything. And thank you on behalf of DeKalb 428.
And I think we're doing the same thing for Melissa. It's happening. Jamie, your last time here, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. I want to tell you how much respect I have for the work that you've done. I do not want to let it be not said how much respect I have for the amount of effort and time and dedication that you've shown to making that job work. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jamie.
And we're saying goodbye to Tim. Is he gone, by the way?
And thank you. I think Tim's on the road now.
Okay.
I'm good.
There he is. There's the T, Mr. T.
Yeah, that's me.
Same thing, Tim, to you. Thank you so much for the effort and time that you put in as well.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. It's been great working with the district. It's been outstanding.
Terrific, and good luck to both. Good luck to all in as you move forward. All best wishes, and I know the staff shares our opinion on this.
Well, and Jeff, I mean, talking about Tim, I've been here 3 years. Tim's been here, 15, 16, 17 years, and the amount of dedication that he's given to the district. We certainly wish Tim well. He's going to be a great superintendent, and he's been a great guy to work with, and was I know very much admired by the district. So congratulations, Tim, on your new appointment, and best of luck to you.
Okay, thank you all very much. And with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call?
Jeff Aldridge?
Yes.
Samantha McDavid?
Yes.
Sarah Moses?
Yes.
Victoria Newport?
Yes.
Jeremy Olson?
Yes.
Nelly Peña Hernandez?
Yes.
David Seymour?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all.